Welcome to the fastest daf in town. Today we'll set this Yoma daf Ayin Ches. We are going to begin on Ayin Ches Samad Alf, about 8 lines from the top with the parentheses. Tinach Yom Kippurim Delei Kaminol. I can understand on Yom Kippur in which a person is not allowed to wear shoes. Shabbos Dikaminol Mai. What is the din? Says Rashi. Mishari Laber B'Mayim. Are you allowed to traverse through water? Dilma. Chayshin and Dilma Nafgi Mikra. You may take your shoes off. Yasi Maisin. You may end up carrying them. So what's the deal when it comes to Shabbos? So the Gemara answers like this: we saw these two great rabbis, that they reached a pool of water, and here's the key words: Vavrua derech malbush, and they went through the water derech malbush, wearing it, which is mashma that a person could go in wearing a null. Now, sandal Maimar. When it comes to sandal, what's the din? Says Rashi. You can't tie them so tight. When it comes to a regular shoe, you have shoelaces, you can tie them very tight, so they're not going to fall off. So that makes sense that's lenient and will be matu there. What's the din when it comes to a sandal where the shoe is looser? Samurab. Richumi Lanachazit Rabina the Avaderach Malbush, Ravashi Umar Sandal Chatrilo, which is what we pass him. When it comes to Noel, question 12, he mutter laver b'Shabbos in Manol sandal b'mayim. So Manol is mutter, and sandal is l'chatrilo loy. Reish galusa ikla l'hagronia l'bei Rav Nasa. So Reish galusa went to this location. Rafa Makul Rabban and also Lapirka. They all went to the shir to listen. Ravina also, however, whatever reason, Ravina did not attend. Umachaboy Rafa. Afterwards, the next day, he asked a question. Hapuku Ravina medai to the Reish Galusa, to be able to remove Ravina from the das of the Reish Galusa, because after all, Ravina didn't come, so maybe the Reish Galusa felt a little bit upset they didn't come. So Malay, my time lost Marla Pirko. Where were you? How could you not come? So Malay, I understand, but I'll tell you why I couldn't come. Havi koivli kari. I didn't have the ability to come because my feet hurt. It was too long of a walk and it would hurt my feet. So he boiled lasani. So why did you wear shoes? Because the pain was on the top of my foot, and because it was on the top, I wasn't able to put anything, any type of a shoe on. So fine. So you don't wear tight shoes. You could have come in sandals. I can't. I had this water I'd have to go through. So what? Go through with your sandals. Similarly, no. I'm not allowed to. The only way it could have come is, can you imagine this Gemara? Person's not feeling well. My feet are killing me. So, okay. Still, you could have put on more comfortable shoes than come. Yeah, but there's a whole body of water. You could have gone through the water. So no excuse to not learn Torah. However, when it comes to Chol Shabbos, that's an excuse. So he wasn't allowed to. Tani Yehuda bar Groigurus Oscillation Al Gabi Tina B'Yom Kippurim. Person allowed to sit on muddy ground on Yom Kippur. It's kind of hard to imagine why someone would want to do that, but perhaps that muddy ground would have cooled him off. Amar Yehuda Barashi, Amar Rabbi Shimon Levi, Uvatina Mitapachas. It's talking about where it is this element of moisture. Amar Bayo V'toifech Avnas Latviach, which we hear many times in Gemara. It has to be so moist that if it's on something, it'll make that other thing moist. Amar Yehuda Motul Itstanin Beperis. But you could cool your body off. If you want, you could sit on or next to fruits, cold fruits. Rabbi Yehuda Mitzdanin Bikara. He used to cool himself off on squash. Rabbi Mitztanin Binuka. He actually would cool himself off with a baby. Rabbi Mitztanin Bekasa de Kaspa. And Rabbi would cool himself off with a silver kli. So Amar Papa, Kas Kaspa Mole Aser. Chaser Shari. Depends. When are you allowed to use this silver cup? If it's full, it's Aser. However, if it's not full, if it's missing, then it's allowed. Why? So Rashi says, Mole Aser, Shemi Yishbechu Mayim al Basaroi, because you may end up spilling some of it on your body. It's Rechitza. However, if it doesn't have any water in it, it's just cold, then it's allowed. The Pachra, which is referring to Techeres, to earthenware, Idi Aser. Even if it's empty, it's a problem. Mishum Yemishchel Shachol, because the way that it works is it has this sweatiness to it, a moisture, and therefore that moisture will ooze out and go on your skin. Even if it's an empty silver cup, it's also aser. Why? Mishum Demiz Doriv, because it gets slippery, and therefore again it could spill. Okay, says Rashi, machlik, it's smooth. V'nishma miyada miyishmechu hamayim olav, and again the liquid will spill on you. Question 13. Ma tam asur mitzdadim b'klicheres? Why can't you use klicheres? Mishum shepoilit ma sheboileya. Whatever was absorbed in it, it extracts, and therefore it's going to give you moisture. And the klicheres, even if it's not filled, says question 13, it's smooth, and the ishmiyada is slip from your hand, and the waters will spill on you. Okay, even if it's not entirely full, but still that water can still spill on you because it's so slippery. Okay. Is again chaser nami aser mishum dimiz dar. Ze'erav bar chama ushbezinchin de Rabbi Ami Rabasi. So he was a host to Rabbi Ami Rabasi, and Rishum and Levin who kul Rabbanan the Kesri, and all the Rabbanan in Kesar. Hav Yarmalei or Rabbi Yosef Berei, the Rabbi Yeshua and Levi Bar Arya, the son of lions, taught Emelach Milsa Mal Yosef the Havi Abed Abu. Tell us a beautiful thought that came from your father. So he said mitpachas, regarding a towel, or Rashi says a sudder, hoyelo be'erev Yom Kippurim. Then let's say you had this from before Yom Kippur, b'shoyro isa b'mayim, and you soaked it up with water, and you put it together with these like dried up kalim. You can take this cloth and wipe your face, hands, and feet with it. This is something which is allowed to be done. It's not a problem. Erev Tisha B'Av, this is talking about Erev Yom Kippur. Erev Tisha B'Av Shor Oysa B'Mayim, you soak in water. U'machar Ma'avir Al Gabi Einav, you can put it by your eyes. So on Tisha B'Av, he didn't squeeze the water out. Fine. Some say v'chein kiyasa rabba b'mari yomer be'erev Tisha B'Av ma'avin l'mitpachas. You can take a towel, the shoyis b'mayim, you soak it up in water. V'nicha tachas ma'ashoyis, you can put it underneath your head. U'machar v'kanech panav yadav raglav, and again you can wipe your hands, face, and feet with it. V'erev Yom Kippur ma'avin lo b'tavachas, you can take a towel, like this towel, the shoyis b'mayim, soak in water. V'yoyis oyis kimin kalim neguvim, and use it with like dry vessels. And you can pass it by your eyes. Actually, I would say the opposite. And I would have a question regarding the prohibition of schita. Since on Yom Kippur there's an issue of schita, so it should be more strict on Yom Kippur than on Tisha B'Av. So the fact that we said the opposite is hard to understand. We should be more strict on Yom Kippur than on Tisha B'Av, since on Yom Kippur there's an Issa Malacha. So it's hard to understand why he was saying that on Yom Kippur we're more lenient and on Tisha B'Av we're more strict. So it's hard to understand that svara. Amar Menashe bar Tachlifa, Amar Rav Amram, Amar Rabbi bar Chana, Shalos Rav Elazar Zakin, the Yoshiv Yeshiva Sarach Lita Rishus Lahati B'Bechayris Amein Sarach. Do you need to ask permission to matir B'Chayris, a Bechor which has developed a mum, or is it not necessary to ask Rishus? So my Kumaboilu, what's this question? How can Kumaboilu? Kiha Diyama Rabbi Barabban Davar Zeh Nicholahem Lobenasiya Kedei Lis Gaderbait Sarach Lita Rishus Nodim Kiban Zakam Yoshiv Yeshiva in Sarach. Again, the question is, if you're, let's say a person is a Zakin Yoshiv Yeshiva, says Rashi, we said Masechta Sanhedrin, beginning of Masechta Daf Hey, Shin Chacham Matir as a Bechor B'Yachid. The Chacham is not allowed to matir a Bechor by himself. Leroy says Mumo to look at a blemish. El in Cain, not to Rishus min a Nasi. He has to actually get permission from the Nasi to do so. Pamachas one time. V'Hacham Eboyelhu. Dim Zakin Yoshiv Yeshiva Sanhedrin. Mi Serach Rishus. Does he actually have to ask Rishus from the Nasi? Alone, maybe it's not necessary because he's already a chashuv person. Even though this is not really related, but we're going to also be asking similar types of questions which are going to be related actually to Yom Kippur. So the question again is, do we need to get Rishus, or the fact that he's already a Zakin Yoshiv Yeshiva, he doesn't have to ask Rishus to be able to pass in the din of Bechor. So Amir Rav Tzaddik Ben Chalukah al Raglav, he stood up on his feet. Yomer Anir Isi as Rabbi Yosi Ben Zimra Shazakun Yoshiv Yeshiva Haya. He was a choshev person. Yomid B'Mal Mizakenai Shel Zeh V'Notar Rishus Lahatim B'Becharis. He actually did ask permission, even though he was in this prominent position. He still asked permission to matir Becharis. Amar Rav Abba Loi Kachay Maisa. No, you got the story a little bit confused. El Kachay Maisa. Rav Yosi ben Zimra Kohen Haya. He wasn't just a Zakin Yoshiv Yeshiva, he actually was a Kohen himself. And this was the question. Halachik Rameir, Dirma Choshe B'Davar Lo Donav Lo Mi'idu, or Dima Halachik Rav Shimon Gamliel, Dirma Nemanhu Al Yidei Shel Chavedoi, Neman Al Shel Atzmai. So, Kohanim, as Rashi says, are Choshud when it comes to passing regarding a blemish on a Bechor. They are Negei B'Davar, because Bizman Azer, Rashi says, Ein Lo Takana El Imkein Yesh Lo Mum. They have to wait until there's a mum. Otherwise, until then, they have to be metapel, they have to take care of this animal. So therefore the Kohen is going to probably come up with different excuses, say, yeah, this is a blemish, this is a blemish. So they have this way of looking at it, in which is not necessarily going to be the correct halacha, because they're negeya, they're choshud. So the question is, if you're a choshud b'davar, does that mean you cannot be involved in it at all? Or does it just mean for yourself? But maybe for someone else where there's no monetary gain or loss, maybe a Kohen could do so. Pashalei halakha Rav Shimon Gamliel, and we end up saying the halakha Rav Shimon Gamliel that takir neman al shel chaveroi. Pasukam aboilu. We asked another question. Mahu latis b'sandal shel sham. As we continue Ayin Chesed Beis. Can you use on Yom Kippur? We know it can't be leather, but can the shoe be made out of bamboo or some type of a cork? Rashi says shel min goimi. So Amon Rab Yitzchak bar Nachmani al Ragla, he stood up. That's the reason why we're saying this again. So it's Oymid al Ragla. He went out with these shoes of cork or bamboo. We said, what is the din when it comes to a tainus sibor? Says Rashi, what do you mean a tainus sibor? For example, if you're nigzar al geshomim, it's brought down at great length in Masechtas Tainus. There are different types of fasts and different things we do if we don't get rain, and if we weren't answered right away, more stringencies. So the Gemara in Masechtas Tainis on Daf Yud Bey says, Asum Nils a sandal. At a certain point, you can't wear Nils a sandal. So could they wear sham? Shamalei loshna, which means it's not an issue. Amarabba Merchan Aniri Yisi Rabbi Lezer de Ninvish Shiatzav Sandal Shasham Batainis Sibor. You did wear these types of shoes on a Batainis Sibor, so it's not an issue. Yaminule b'Yom Kippur Mai. How about by Yom Kippur? Shamalei loshna, which means it's allowed. Rabbi Yehuda Nafik, he went out b'de hitni with reeds. Abai Nafik b'de hutzni, he went out with palm branches. Rabba Nafik, let's do the parentheses, b'de yable, with reeds. Rabba Baravuna Korech Sudra Kari B'Nafik, he wrapped a bunch of cloths around his feet and he went out. For instance, Rabbi Shlomo Auerbach says leather shoes shows dominion over the animal kingdom. So on a tinus, we lower ourselves and remove it. So that's the idea, because like we're not necessarily above the animal kingdom. So that's one shot. It may not just be tainug. The issue of tainug, there's some people that even I've heard that say, oh, how about Crocs? So some people find them to be, like myself, very, very comfortable. In fact, somewhat more comfortable than really nice leather shoes, which actually may not be so comfortable. So it's not necessarily only because of tainug, there could be other reasons as well. So the Gemara continues. Meisev Roma Merchama. He asks a question. Hakiteya yoytze b'kav shaloi. So this is brought down in Masechtas Shabbos, that someone who is an amputee is allowed to go out with his prosthetic. Divrei Remeir of Yoisi Oiser. A lot of time Yoisi Oiser Samach Samach. Natani Lo V'Shaman She'asal Asis B'Yom Yom Kippurim. They both hold you're not allowed to go out on Yom Kippur like that. So Chayra, says Rashi, Alma Afagav the Rabbi Yoisi Ulav Minoilhu Afil Haki Aser V'Hu Adin L'Shel Sham. Chayra, it should be Aser Shel Sham too. So Rabbi, no Hasam the East Bay Kasisin. The problem over there is because you put the cloths inside the prosthetic leg, Umishum Tainig. And over here the issue is Tainig. It's not due to the shoe that it's Aser, rather the rags inside is what gives it Tainig. The question is, what's wrong with rags? Ein Mefarshim. Armule Rava Di'ulav Manahu. If it's not a Kli, Kasisin Mishavi Leimana. What all of a sudden these cloths is what makes it into a Kli? Oh, called Tainig Delav Minoilhu. Any Tainig which is not connected to a shoe, Yom Kippurim Yaser. V'ho Rabba Rahuna Havi Karch Sodura Kari V'Nafik. They put cloths around their feet, and this is a problem. The whole issue is dak with shoes. V'od, and furthermore, Medikaktani Sefer, Im Yesh Loi Beis Kibul, Kasisin Tame. So it says if there's a base kibul, if there's some type of hole, so then when it comes to dinim of tuma, this prosthetic leg also has the capacity to become tame. Must be, if that's talking about the sefer, the reish is not talking about kasisa. El omer rava le'olam d'kol min noilhu. Really, everyone says it's talking about min noil. It was Shabbos b'haplegi. Marsav gazrinan dilma mishtamid b'asla suidal da'amas. Marsav loy gazrinan. The whole gazer is pashut. Are we concerned that you may end up taking it off and carrying dal da'amas? Tarabah. Tinaikis mutar b'choil chutz min il sasamo. So we mentioned in the beginning of our 8th parak that there are 5 inuyim, and one of them is Nil Sasandal. That is the only one that a child must do on Yom Kippur. So Ma'ishna, Nil Sasandal, Diyarma Inchi, Avdule, because people will say the parents put shoes on them. So Hanachnami, Yamri Inish Avdule, Rachitza Sicha. People want to say, how could it be that the parents had them bathed and anointed? Amar Me'esmal Avdule. Also you can say, well, no, they took a bath yesterday before Yom Kippur. So sandal nami yemrim esbel avidulei. Maybe he gave them the shoes before Yom Kippur. No, sandal asher div esbel avidulei. Diyamer Shmuel haiman de boy lamitam taima de mitzusa. Anyone who wants to be able to taste the taste of death, what should you do? L'sayim l'sayim l'ganei. Wear your shoes and go to bed. So that is the worst thing you can possibly do. So therefore, you have to have taken off the shoes before you went to sleep, and now it's the next day. So obviously, you didn't put them on. You didn't sleep in their shoes because that's like a kolola to sleep like that. I v'hamutarin l'chatchil katani. So l'hanoch delav Rabbi Saihu goes Rabbanan. When it comes to anything that is not detrimental for the growth of a child, if it's not a big deal, then the Rabbanan goes. Hanoch Rabbi Saihu will goes Rabbanan. When it comes to everything else, eating, drinking, making sure that they're anointed and clean, these are things that are important for a baby. It's necessary to make sure that the child is given those essential needs even on Yom Kippur. Yoma Rabbi, Armali Aim, and we always see whenever Rabbi quotes, he quotes his mother. My mother said, even though it's naturally his biological mother, but nonetheless, he gave her tremendous honor for having raised him. Rabbi say Dianuka. She said regarding the development of a child, Maya Chamimo Mishcha, warm water, and you should also have oil to anoint him. Gadol porta beyatsa bekutcha. You should provide for him an egg with this kutach dip, which has milk in it. Gadol porta, if he grows up a little bit more than that, tiburi mane, can have like broken kalim, kihada rabba zavinlu mani gazize. He'd buy these vessels, the pachra livne, which were out of earthenware, metavrilu, and they were broken. I mean, what's the point of giving broken vessels? This was the modern day toy, showing that you have to give a child appropriate toys, and it's essential for their growth and development. So they used to have these like different pots and pans or things that were broken that really maybe not have been used essential for normal utility, for normal purposes. However, they would give it to a child because that's a way that the child would be able to develop in his cognition. Question 14. Elu inuyim Yom Kippurim muturim l'katan ve'elu asurin umatam. So we said everything is mutter for a katan, except when it comes to nilas sandal, because that's the one thing that does not change his growth and development. If he doesn't wear shoes, so he's not wearing shoes one day, big deal. So he's mechuyev in the inui of that. And then the Mishnah said, Hamelech v'kal yirchasu es pneim, they can wash their face. So masnis the mother, Rabbi Chananya ben Shiradyan. Why? The Sanya Hamelech v'kal yirchasu es pneim. He says that they're not allowed to wash. However, Chananya ben Shiradyan oimer mishum Rabbi Lezer Hamelech v'kal yirchasu es pneim, they could. Why? Achaya, first, when it comes to a woman who gave birth, lotinoil as a sandal, she doesn't have to be regarding the wearing of shoes. She could wear shoes. It's not a problem. She could wear these sandals, even though we said l'chatchilo, but they're allowed to. So my time, melch mishum dechsev melch v'yafi techazeno einecha, that the king has to always have a splendor and beauty of him, and therefore we're makel and we allow the king to wash his face. Kalo my time, kadesh shaloi tisgana al bala. We want to make sure that she looks appropriate to her husband, and therefore she can wash her face. Amalei Rav Chia kala ad kama. How long is she a kala? Samalei kedesanya. Ein meinin tachshitin min a kala. We don't hold back tachshitin from a bride. Kol shloshim yoyim. Achayetinos asandal mishum tzina. A woman could wear these shoes because the cold floor could be detrimental for her. If there's a danger of scorpions, then anyone's allowed to wear those shoes. So let's look at this last Rashi. We're going to stop there. Beresh Besul Nises Bebeksuvas Harishaya Tivchay Tavuach. Let's say you slaughtered the meat. The Enumazag, the wine was diluted. Umeis Aviv Shalchasan. The father of the father's the Chassan's father died. O Ima Shel Kala, or the Kala's mother died, and they have a specific importance to the wedding. So Machnisin is a mace cheder. We put the mace into the room, into a separate room. That's a chasam is a Kala chupla. We marry them off. Uboyel bilas mitzvah, they have tashmish. Upayrish, they separate from each other. Yachach koyven is a mace, and we do the kvura. The ein moinin tachshitin min akal lamach masa'av el kol shoshim yoyim. Al makol shoshim yoyim boinoi. So even though there is a status of a veilus that normally we don't beautify ourselves, however, for the Kala, we're lenient, and we see it from, again, the Gemara at the beginning of the Sechtas Ksubas. Okay, we're going to stop there, and let's see if we have any more questions. TA1. Be'ez oifen, in what circumstance, hatiru lehechin matpachais b'yom kippurim? It's a little bit difficult. How do we know at what type of cloth is allowed to be done? What can you do on Yom Kippur? Or to put it over your eyes. It says Trey Lishni Barashi. So the first question right out of the gate, the hard question. So he says like this: according to one shot in Rashi, you soak it in water, and you make it like dry kalim. Lashon beis mekanech payadav, you wipe your hands. U'machar ma'avira al einav, you put on your eyes. U'lacha mikinuach hayadayim de'esmo, and they're still moist from the wiping from the day before. So it's, again, it's a shtickle difficult, that type of a question, but nonetheless, that is that's the answer. Question 2. Masav Avil Rabbi State. Okay, that's going to be tomorrow's daf. And let's see, TB2. He'imutu l'tztanin me'am kippurim b'kli keseb or b'kli cheres sheish mehem mayim umadua. So it's kind of similar to question 13. So this is TB2. So when it comes to a kli keseb, if it's full, it's usher, because it may spill the water on you. If it's missing, it's a machlokas. The reason why some say it's usher is because it may get very slippery and it may fall and still get you wet. Kli cheres is usher always mishum the pilot bilasai, since whatever it absorbs, it also extracts, and therefore, even if it doesn't spill, it's going to get you wet, which is an isser of rechitza. Adkan.